Greetings, everybody. This is Jeff Scott. It is not quite 3:30, but by the time the update's done, it will be. This is my market update for 3/16/2020. We'll also look at how I altered some of my charts, which clearly created a little bit of unintended angst among the HGSI folks. As always, this is for educational purposes only. I am a physician, not a broker. I'm independent. I do this as an unpaid volunteer, and I do it to help support the folks that have invested in HGSI and other tools that I've been involved with. So, just from a timing perspective, you can see it's 3:20. I'm going to do an update and include intraday, but first remember you have to go into intraday, enable intraday. You have to pick options. I have Thinkorswim fake version, paper version on, but that's enough. Thinkorswim's turned on there. I'm going to do a full update and we'll be back in a couple seconds. So it's starting. It is 3:20. It should take about from this, once it starts to go, it should take 7 minutes. So I should be back about 3:27. Back in a moment. Test. Okay, it's 3:26, so it took about 6 minutes for today's update. I don't need to tell you what's going on in the world and what the market is. It's just another god-awful day. San Francisco has told people to shelter in place. Trump is speaking now, really pushing people to avoid being around 10 or more people. I think by the end of this week, we'll probably have, well, I'm not going to jump the gun on shutting down airlines, but it really sounds like we're about to be sheltered in place as a population. Probably not a bad idea. What I do is a quick review. Before I start, I want to just talk about some changes I made to the charts yesterday and demonstrate for you what I did. I'm just going to go into my usual chart, which is the one that you would have access to. Well, I'm going to go into this chart here. This chart you don't have access to unless you have John Person stuff, but it's the one that I've been using. There was concern yesterday about the Hindis and the Phoenixes and the Eurekas. You notice that where my arrowhead is, there are no Phoenixes or Eurekas. That upset me and concerned me. I also noticed I have a lot less Hindenburgs. Well, there's a setting that you can do, and I'm going to show you what you need to do to change it. So first I'm going to do is duplicate this. I always suggest you duplicate it. I'm going to edit it, and I'm going to go to the name, and I'm going to call it the NYC, and you'll see why. Okay, and now I'm going to edit that new one, and first I'm going to go to the Hindenburg Omen. I'm going to unclick smaller of these groups is greater than 79. I am going to, the number of new highs are so low, that's why it's not triggering. And smaller groups, I'm going to uncheck that. And I want to show you the impact of that. Now watch the Hindenburg line. There's the missing Hindis. Go back in here. Now I'm going to go down to the Eurekas and Phoenixes, which are down here in the volume. On each of these, I'm going to switch the index to use to NYSE. Simple. Double click, switch the index, hit OK. Double click, switch the index, hit OK. Double click, switch the index, hit OK. Whoops. Now when I look in the lower right hand corner, I bet I'll see a bunch of them. And there you have it with the Eureka that occurred yesterday. All right. What else do I want to do? Okay. So now I want to take a look at the markets where we're at right now. And this is what I typically do in the afternoon. Now, since I'm using real-time platforms, I like to go into the sector view. And what I could see is a sea of red. The only place that's turned around at all looks like the things that people are buying at the supermarket. Campbell Soup, Clorox Bleach, Conagra products, brands, number of consumer brands, General Mills, Hormel, is that Smucker's? Yep. Kellogg, Kimberly-Clark, toilet paper, Kroger's, and alcohol. And then Walgreens Boots Alliance, drugstores. That's it. Nothing else seems to be working on the map. You can see red everywhere. We all know what kind of a day we've had as of this moment. NASDAQ's down 590, the future 7.5%. The Russells are down over 10, and the E-minis are down now only 809. Sometimes I get a delay in that. Just keep that in mind. In advanced trading, I will look for double-clicking any bounces that showed up today. Newmont Mining, bounce to the upside. Seagate to the downside. Breakouts, no breakouts. Q-box signals, these will be things pulling down to support. Conagra, FLIR Systems, and then this is a energy play that's actually not making money today. Cabot Oil and Gas bounced off the top of its range. Headwinds, give me an idea if something's turning around. Abiomed must have traded down and reversed today. Glow with flow entries, these reds would be new potential trend changes to the bearish side. These would be potential bullish. It's the same ones we talked about on the consumer staples. If I'm interested, if there was a reversal today, I will click on this and see, and here's a number of things that reversed, and you could see where they are, the same things we've been talking. There's Akamai as well. Green candle lows, you could see there were quite a few today. That's maybe a positive thing, that things traded down and turned around. Red candle highs, there's like none. Those are stocks that are about to reverse to the downside. I can now look and see, do I have a lot of squeezes? And what stocks are squeezing? Mobile breakdowns from a squeeze. I would have WEC, mobile breakouts from a squeeze so far. I've got a couple, Clorox and General Mills. How about pocket pivots up? 4 of them. Pocket pivots down, a little bit more. How about Bible gap ups today? Only Bible gap up I see is on gold, which is now trading down, interestingly, $15.30. I know immediately if there's a gap up because of this function here, and I could see on a broad range of stocks, there were no gap ups outside of bonds and gold today. And then this tells me a chance of where some of the big volume movers were up here. All right, and then I have John signals there and earnings dates. If I want to open up HGSI, and by the way, I'm like you, I'm a user, not necessarily a developer. I use whose ever stuff I find to be useful, and that includes Ron Brown's. And so one of the things that I do intraday after running a Thinkorswim update is get a list, a broad list here, and then throw it down here and look for intraday percent return. Something that he had presented on the board today. And shocking alert, it's a lot of volatility instruments, bearish on energy, more volatility, small cap bear, ultra short crude, emerging markets bear, so on and so forth. A couple of gold stocks are actually up today. Moderna is a potential coronavirus treatment. Be careful with all these potential treatments. The market will be gone after a year, and they may not be worth as much as you think they are. Right now, they're exciting. If I want to go into market analysis groups, and these are the new ones from Ron, and go into the top-down view, you can see we have 175. How many of them this afternoon have momentum to the upside? Just the precious metals. So we could open these up and see if anything looks interesting. These have been killed over the last week, so maybe there's some opportunities for buying in here. Again, I am using this here. If you are not a person owner, that's fine. That's your, it's extra money. I get it. Then you don't have the person market catcher, and you don't have the person buy and sell signals. Person market catcher was interesting because the relative strength of this group, of this stock, was actually improving here while the stock was dropping. And that's usually a bullish convergence that might signify an impending breakout. This is really a breakout after a beatdown. Sandstorm Gold, I actually have a small position left in that. Most of it was stopped out. No reason to own any of these until they demonstrate that this is not just a one-day bump. Seabridge Gold, another small gold. What I did here is I did not double click, so I'm going down in alphabetical order. So there's Royal Gold, Franco-Nevada Gold. That looks a lot better, coming back and retaking the 200-day moving average. And notice with this big sell-off, it really didn't give up much in relative strength. Kirkland, this is one that was doing fine until it had an acquisition, struggling to get back up. So these things have had a good day, and as of the time I did the update, you can see the percent return, but they are very deep in the box. Nothing else positive on a 1-day or 2-day move. On a 5-day, nothing. On a 2-day down, we'll see if there's anything new here. A lot. So a lot of things that had moved to 2-day up on Friday are now pointing down. We do by raw combo. Wasn't necessary before, we only had one. The REITs, which looked okay over the weekend. Realty income, boy, this thing's just dying. REITs are a lot of different pieces, though. MGM shutting their doors. Ventas, a healthcare REIT. These things look horrible. Now, this is one that I talked about this weekend. It's giving us a doji day. Definitely pull back with the rest of the REITs. Semiconductor devices moved to a weak group. I liked AMD yesterday, and I liked Intel. NVIDIA and others I thought were too beaten up. Broadcom, Micron. AMD has not had a good day either, although it perhaps has a better day than some of those trading up from the open. I don't short much individual stocks after this big of a rundown, so I would probably not go further here. What I would do is then take a pruned list of stocks. Trump just said it's going to run till August. I'm glad I bought some more VXS this afternoon. Oh, you get votes. At some point, there'll be some fiscal stimulation to go with what the Fed's doing, and hopefully that will lead to a improvement in the market. Yeah, I definitely took another leg down on the few things I have left. It's amazing how things can drop. You didn't think I had any money left in those. FAZ, this is where TD Ameritrade drives me nuts. FAZ is a big position of mine. It's up $14, but the way they price the options, it looks like I lost money on that today. Well, that's not true. Now I understand why that number. VXX is now 60. Oh my goodness gracious. SQQQ is 29.58. Wow. Obviously a very difficult day again in the market. From a bottoms up perspective, I will go to my all securities price and volume there. This is what I like to trade. Again, I could look at many different things. What I'm going to do is show you why I like the person indicator. I can go see very quickly, are there any new buys today? John Person buys. Interestingly, there's quite a few buys. That's surprising because last week we didn't see any. What I mean by a buy, you'll see an arrow down here as it's had clear reversal. Then I have a band here. Now I can tell you I don't necessarily like eggs, but you got a stock trading down, a new buy signal, and bullish convergence with two kahunas, mobile breakout from a squeeze. This is an interesting picture here. I guess people are going to be making more eggs. Sprouts Farmers Markets. I think all the markets are going to have some energy today. Another B&G. These are all consumer staples. Hanes Celestial. Alpha Pro Tech is one of those companies that's making gear, protection gear for those that have to go in and work with the patients. All right. Look at the demand supply. So I often start with this view. Then I'll drop down to PMC improving or outperforming. And this drops me down to a couple of others. I'm not going to buy Warrior Met Coal, so I'm not going to look at Blue Apron Holdings. This used to be a dog, but I think they deliver food, and they have prepared food. If people are going to be hunkering down at home, this might be an interesting play. A new buy signal. And look at the person market catcher showing better, improving relative strength. Drillquip, I actually saw this one last week. A new buy signal, again, positive strength. I might go and I look at the next one down is near weekly support. This one is a preferred, so I'm going to skip it. A new daily buy with an existing weekly buy. So these are stocks that have both a daily and weekly buy. Don't know anything about this OpGen, but it was a big mover today. It's hard to know about these things in advance. When I see this picture, it tells me here's a stock that probably used to be very expensive. There must be some story out about it and a vaccine or something. No, thank you. Trilogy buy, these are great buys, and there you go, the same stocks, Cal-Maine Foods, Clorox. You know, Clorox is in an uptrend. It pulled back to support, broke out today, mobile breakup from a squeeze. Pocket Pivot, Kahuna, makes money, pays a 2.4% dividend. Probably not a bad place to stick some money. He pays a dividend, probably is a stable place if there is such thing as stability. HCD, daily new, these are new daily high close dojis. I'd rather look for a pattern. How about one with a new PBS buy? Molson Beer, another consumer staple. I guess if you're home, you might as well be drinking. Pretty down in its pattern. Here's another small biotech that has been mentioned in the vaccine and the coronavirus story. Here's a stock that was $10, and now it's 45. I call that RISK, and I'm afraid of things like that, so I would pass on it. New weekly buys, only one, the Cal-Maine Food, which we looked at. And how about a weekly HCD and a new buy signal? HCD is one of John's best signals, and the two we looked at, Blue Apron and Cal-Maine. I can go up here and I can look at bearish stocks, new sells, 54, how new sells with weakening or lagging PMC. I want to find things that have just started to roll over, and the problem with this market, you're finding things that have been totally beaten up, and I'd rather find something here that's run back up into the moving average that's more than $24. I've shorted this one before. You see, I'd rather find it when it pulls back up. It's already 2-4 down. Well, maybe I can find near weekly resistance. None are near weekly resistance. How about with a weekly sell? Plenty of those. This is one that looked interesting this weekend. It's getting killed today. So it's just breaking down below its 200. That might be more interesting if I was looking at a potential short. Trilogy sell, that one I got to work on. Low close doji with a new sell signal. These would be other things that might be interesting. Several of them are in the retail food business. There's a technology. Here's one that also looked interesting. This one is just Billy. It's just started to break down, but it's closed up, or it's moved up on the day since breaking down. Wow, impressive market. Another thing that I like to do, again, something that I'm not trying to tease people, but I created for the John Person owners. I took some of my historic things and I added things to them. So, for example, you have filters for me that look at uptrends, and that's not surprising. Must be close to 4. No to all. Hold on a sec. No to all. Hate when that happens. But I put together a series here so I could look at pullbacks and uptrends. I'm working on the bearish cohort. Uptrend near free parking. Free parking, I define stock size above the 200-day within 2% of the 50-day moving average. Only 19 of them now. So if I look at any of them, they should be in an uptrend. I guess it's loose to say this, but it is. It's above the 200. It is today, and the 50 is above the 200. And then I can look at this in a squeeze. Now, these are stocks that meet these criteria that are in a squeeze. Citrix systems should be benefiting from the people at home that got to tie into different systems from their PC. I can look at this, whether they are firing a number of my other indicators. They're not there, the Ian's impulse indicators. Less of them. So I have various scans that I put together trying to take, here's 2% of the 20-day. Hard to believe there's 32 stocks that are there. How many are in a squeeze? 21. And within that group, how many of them have other buy signals? I think I need to make this or instead of and, so I actually get some findings. So I'm going to probably do that. Kellogg, again, showing up here. All right. Another one that I like to use is PSAR near bullish flip, which means the PSAR dot's right above price. And there's not many because so many stocks are in downtrends. This looks like a buyout. If not, it looks interesting. It looks like a buyout though, so I would want to be sure before I said anything there. Leadership transition, definitive agreement. Buyout, so we don't look at buyouts. Commerce Bank shares bouncing nicely today for a regional bank. That's somewhat surprising. So I have a number of scans I do. Those that within HGSI, just to point out, I want to put this to a sort of a generic scorecard combo all filters, because if you go here and you go into the smart groups, you can start looking at things that popped up. Big volume today. Buy in tech, boy, a big gap up. This was a double digits, a $10 stock. IPO now 48 because of coronavirus. I don't know about you guys. I get nervous on things like that. Pull back to the 50 with a kahuna. This is a acquisition company. Squeezing with PSI reversal upside. Here's that in structure. Another acquisition company. Squeezing with PSI to the downside. Neither of those showed up. If you subscribe to John Person, you can look at some top bullish stocks near support with a weekly PBS buy, trilogy buy, and so on and so forth. So lots of different things here within the program to help you find stocks. This is just a very difficult market. Let's go back and look at the S&P 500 again. Let's hit F5 and update my chart. It is still looking pretty awful. We've got a new bingo firing today. Now, if you want to be bullish, kind of a big if, isn't it? You got a doji forming after a really bad day. A doji is an indecision day. You got a doji on the daily and weekly because the weekly is only 1 day old. If we go out with a doji and they come up tomorrow and they do some fiscal stimulation tonight, tax break, remove the payroll taxes, also $1,000 into every family per month, whatever they're going to do, maybe this will turn out to be a reversal. Right now, the good news is we're closing in the middle of the day. We're not closing on the bottom of the day. We have made up for some of the losses, although we are below where we opened. Volatility, just out of curiosity, how's it ending the day? The VIX has been crazy, and I'll do an F5. And the VIX is, hopefully it'll be right soon, still near the high of its range. Now, one of the nice things about intraday is maybe I don't want to do a complete update. I just want to update all the prices. All I got to do is go into my intraday. If we look at the clock, it's 3:48. I'm going to update intraday now. I'm going to pause it. Okay, it's now 3:49, so it took a minute for me to update all the quotes. So if I look through here, these should be updated. I'm going to hit F5 just to prove that to myself, and you're not going to see a change, I suspect. No. So that is a very quick feature to update all the quotes. If you want it to impact on your warehouse views, etc., you need to do you have to do a complete update. That note, I'm going to say to everybody that I hope you stay safe. Let me put on my physician hat. If you're young, this is probably not a big deal. If you touch your loved older ones, I guess I'm 62, so I'm older, or patients who have cancer, chemotherapy, had a transplant, are frail and chronically ill, their death rate from this is probably 10% in my age group to 40% in the very elderly and sick. I have kids that are about 30 that are sick right now. They haven't been tested. Their death rate is probably 0.01, and we told them just take it easy and not worry about it. the reason why they want to flatten the curve is to prevent the hospitalizations. It doesn't prevent us from getting sick. The key thing is, for most of us, getting sick is not a death sentence. This is not an episode of outbreak or contagion, but it's about protecting those that are at risk. And the reason to stay inside and not to congregate and be careful is to really reduce the spread to that risky patients. I hope everybody's good. God bless you. We'll see you tomorrow.